The doctor is back in the office, and today we're going to be talking about fights to make after UFC 320. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Stay to the end to see the Patchy mix prediction for his next fight, because that's an absolute banger of a fight if it happens. And it's a great prediction. It's gonna be a great fight. It's gonna be huge. It's gonna be one of the best fights ever. And I know fights and I know bangers. Anyway, we're gonna get into fights to make after UFC 320. Again, like, comment, subscribe. Let's get into this. Oh, didn't go there. We're starting off with our main event winner, Alex Pereira. He's gonna be moving up to heavyweight to fight Tom Aspinall. And listen, super fights like this, the opportunity doesn't present itself this often. This has to happen, in my opinion. Listen, there's not that much more light heavyweight for Alex Pereira. Do we really want to see him fight Carlos Ulberg? Because I personally don't. The only interesting thing about that fight would be seeing Carlos Ulberg's head get planted onto the canvas of the octagon. And as for a Jiri trilogy, listen, I love Jiri. He's probably one of my 5 favorite fighters. What is he what is he doing differently in the third fight? Like, is he finally going to beat Alex? I don't think so. He was so susceptible to hits against Khalil, and nobody else could finish him other than Alex Pereira. And I think the same thing would happen if they fought again. And I would love to see Jiri get the belt back, even as a Alex Pereira guy, but it's just not happening. Let Jiri fight. You'll see the fight we're going to predict for Jiri right after this. But anyway, on to this fight. The weird thing about it is Dana White wasn't really super into it. He didn't seem too keen on the idea of Alex Pereira moving up. He said there were interesting fights, which really there aren't. I mean, Ulberg's not a sell. Jiri, I guess you could would be a sell, but I don't think he would jump Ulberg in this scenario if Alex stayed a light heavyweight. And there's also no Ank rematch. There's no big Ank, little Ank, big Ank, little Ank. There's no rematch for that bum. It's 1-1. It was a fluke win the first time. You got put out badly in the second fight. You don't deserve a rematch. You had no title defenses, so that won't happen. And also gives Alex Pereira a chance to get the third belt and enter the GOAT status. Because if this dude moved up to heavyweight, finished Tom Aspinall, knocked him out, which I don't think would happen, but I mean, he just beat Magomed Ankalaev, and listen, I picked him to win, but I didn't really believe with all my brain that he was actually gonna win. My heart said Pereira, but my brain said Ankalaev, and he pulled that off. Even though Tom Aspinall, he's leagues better than Magomed Ankalaev. But is it impossible? No. Puncher's chance for Alex Pereira, but this is a fight that would sell so much. Possible White House card. I was outlining a scenario in my head where Tom Aspinall and Alex Pereira fought sometime in like March, right? Because listen, they're both going to need time off because Aspinall's fighting on the 24th, 26th, so, and Pereira just fought and he just broke his foot, so they're both going to need time off after their fights. And this is also assuming Tom Aspinall beats Ciryl Gane, and Ciryl Gane could win. I don't think he will, but it could happen. I was outlining a scenario where these two dudes fight in March, right? And Alex Pereira, he beats Tom Aspinall, right? He gets the third belt. He's the GOAT. Everybody says the GOAT. And then the White House card roams around, right? It comes around in June. And they want Alex Pereira to be the headliner for that. He's might be the best, MMA fighter ever, or one of the best MMA fighters ever. And guess who appears to fight this guy? Fucking John Jones. Which you actually, hold on. You can't see him. He's in the corner right here, cropped out. John Bones Jones comes back to fight Alex Pereira, and he beats him. And we live in the worst timeline where somehow John Jones is actually the champion of it all. Do I think it's possible? No, probably not. I don't think that would happen. I honestly think Alex Pereira would just lose to Tom Aspinall, but you never know. This is a fight that has to be made, though. Nothing else a light heavyweight for Alex to do. He's already probably top 3, top 2, maybe even top 1, depending who you ask. Light heavyweight of all time, I'd probably say top 3, maybe top 2. Light heavyweight ever. Either way, fight that has to be made. Moving on to the loser of this fight, Magomed Ankalaev. Who is Ankalaev going to take on? Who is he going to take on? And I have one man that should be taking on Magomed, Little Ank. And that man is the Michelin Man. He is going to be finding and working at the nearest Michelin tires in Russia. I don't know if they have them. And if he needs to move over in the States to do it, to work at the Michelin tires, so be it. I'm joking. He really shouldn't fight. He should fight the winner of what, Bogdan Guskov versus Jan Blachowicz, which has happened in UFC Qatar in what, a month. I'm also assuming Jan Blachowicz wins this one. I think this would be a really interesting rematch from when these two guys fought for the light heavyweight championship belt. It was a draw. Some people said Ankalaev won. You know, some people said Jan Blachowicz won. I think I lean Jan Blachowicz. Jan leaves it close at a lot of these fights. He goes to a lot of close decisions. Like, remember the Pereira fight? That was a bit controversial. Also frees up the top of the division. Again, Ankalaev, I just think this guy's going to get booted down hard. He probably wins this rematch, though. But the UFC does not want this guy to be in a position to fight for a title. But I do think this would be a good matchup for him. He can win this. Probably won't get KO'd. But he also could just go to work at the tire shop. Either one works. Let's move on to the co-main event. Merab versus, in this prediction, Petr Yan. This would be a rematch. Merab versus Petr Yan, too. Merab 50-45 them, I believe, in the first fight. Really, what the problem with matchmaking for Merab is, what are the other options? Look at the top 5. Sean O'Malley, he's beat him twice. Umar? You know, he's got a fight with Mario Batista. He beat him. I think Umar is really the only guy who stands a chance to maybe beat Merab. Then you keep looking down further. You know, Cory Nerdhagen, he just beat Song Yadong. He needs another win if he wants a title shot. Yan's on a 3-fight win streak. Beat Marcus McGee in his last fight. Also had beat Song Yadong and Figgy by decision. And he didn't have to take that Marcus McGee fight. He didn't sit on his ass like a lot of other people do. And he did what he needed to do, and he won. What was that? The Whitaker DeRitter card in Abu Dhabi? What was that, the co-main or something? It was a good win for him. No one is ever finishing Merab, in my opinion. I think the total idea of this fight is cool. You're like, oh, Yan versus Merab versus Yan too. This should be entertaining, but we all know it's going to end the same way. Merab's just going to wrestle fuck you, and you really have no chance. And Yan, Petr Yan has good cardio. We all know he has great boxing. He has good takedown defense, and he can work shots all over your body, to the head. But at best for Petr Yan, it's a 48-47 decision. I just stuttered there. So, again, I just think this is the only fight we have for Merab. He wants to fight in December, even though John Wood doesn't want him to fight. But this guy wants to make UFC history and defend his belt 4 times. I'm all for it. Making December, they don't really have anything for there. It should be Pantoja versus Van. I wouldn't be mad if it was like Pantoja versus Van, and then Merab versus Petr Yan as a co-main. I think that'd be a banger card. Everybody would be in on that. But now let's move on to the loser of that fight. Not Sean O'Malley. He did lose to Merab, but Sean O'Malley versus Cory Nerdhagen. Those pictures should have been reversed. This is the white people fight. Whites only. White people everywhere who watch the UFC will rejoice. Even casuals will come out to watch this one. Obviously, because all of Sean O'Malley's fans are pretty much casuals. The winner of this wins the best white guy in the UFC award. By American white guy in the UFC award. Not like Volk or any other whites. Best white American in the UFC wins this belt. This has to happen. Because I know their schedules might not perfectly line up. But Hunter and Dana make this happen. Just roll this fight out. It's going to be fun. You'll have the striking of Sean O'Malley. We'll finally get to see Sean O'Malley kind of position where he could finish a guy. Because him getting matched up with Merab, there's just been zero chance that anything was ever good was going to happen for him. And Nerdhagen has great grappling. He could take down Sean O'Malley. He's probably more well-rounded of a fighter. This would just be a super fun fight. A great fight at bantamweight. And would be really interesting to see. So I'm all for Sean O'Malley versus Cory Nerdhagen for the best white American belt in the UFC. How would you put that? The BWA, best white American? I like that one for these guys. Down the card we go to Jiri Prochazka, coming off a big knockout win over Khalil Rountree. And I'm going to match him up with Carlos Ulberg, and this is going to be for the vacant light heavyweight championship. This is assuming that Alex Pereira moves up the division. If he doesn't, we could do a whole fucking video on that, but I'm assuming that this is going to happen. Again, this fight, in my opinion, I would just go heavy on Jiri Prochazka. Carlos Ulberg does absolutely nothing that's super interesting to me. He is fun, but he, again, Nobody likes him. Both these dudes, I will say, deserve a title shot. You know, Carl Solberg's on a 9-fight win streak, just had a nasty KO win over Dominic Reyes. And then had that controversial win over Jan Blachowicz, who again leaves all these fights close. So is it really, you know, whose fault is that? You know what I mean? Jiri just had coming off one of his wildest wins, best finishes you'll ever see. And he's made for the belt. We saw him do the sign of the cross before the start of that third round against Khalil Rountree, and God guided him to a win like it deserves. And look how good he looks with the belt. Like, he is fitted and perfect to be the light heavyweight championship. Probably the most beloved guy in the UFC, in all honesty. And Olberg's going to kind of want this to be on the Australia card, probably in Sydney, maybe Perth in February. So it shouldn't be that far away. I think this would be a great fight, and it would get Jiri the belt back, because fuck you, Carlos Olberg. Nobody likes you. Nobody. Moving on to the loser of that Jiri Prochazka fight, Khalil Rountree. Who are we going to match Khalil Rountree up? I was thinking, what, Rakic and whatever the other guy he's fighting. That's happening UFC Qatar, Azaba, whatever his name is, or Razamadada. We're going to match him up with Dominic Reyes. Who doesn't want to see Dominic Reyes versus Khalil Rountree? You know what I mean? Two Americans going at it, both coming off of brutal KO losses. Obviously, Khalil Rountree's just happened in the third round. Dominic Reyes happened in the first. Both bad, ugly losses. Not in terms of who they lost to, but they were just devastating knockouts. This could be a White House fight, maybe, because they're both going to need a lot of time to recover. It gets two Americans that people know. They both are big names, and they both have connections to the belt in terms of Khalil loses to Alex Pereira, and then Dom lost to John Jones. So in my opinion, this is a perfect fight. Stick somewhere on the White House card, and this will get people to tune in. You know there's going to be, you know, somebody gets finished in this fight probably, or maybe it's just a decision win for Khalil. I would pick Khalil in this because he's not. I think Dominic Reyes might be fully washed, and that chin's probably fully gone now. But yeah, Khalil Rountree versus Dominic Reyes, banger fight. UFC, make this happen. Moving down. Oh, I hit it wrong on the button. Moving down the card, we go to. Oh, again. Fuck this. Moving down the card, we go Youssef Zalal, this fucking punk who is asking for so much from the crowd. Got none of it because nobody likes him. I'm going to match Youssef Zalal up with Arnold Allen. Arnold Allen hasn't fought in a while. He's been coming off of an injury. Again, I look at the featherweight. I look at how the top 5 in featherweights lining up, and I feel like everybody's kind of matched up. I'd have Diego Lopez fight Movzar and maybe a rematch from when they were early in their career. Yair Rodriguez, he's a possibility. I'll talk about him a little bit more to fight Zalal, but I'd have him fight Aljamain Sterling, and then Lerone Murphy versus Volk. For Volk to defend the belt against Lerone Murphy. I think if Zalal beats Arnold Allen, that puts him into a spot where he's a real contender. And Arnold Allen, he's down for anything. I know he's always hurt, but this guy's willing to fight anybody. And he hasn't fought since last July against, Giga Chikadze. I also think Yair Rodriguez could be an option for this because he's never going to fight Diego Lopez. Is Aljo even a real option for him? I think it is. We all want to see Diego Lopez versus Yair Rodriguez, but Yair Rodriguez is a little bitch. He's a punta. I would honestly, and I hate Yair Rodriguez, but he is fun to watch and he does come to fight. And I think it would be an interesting grappling match. But I want to see mostly Yair. Excuse me, not Yair. I want to see Zalal versus Arnold Allen. Get Arnold Allen back up and running against a guy who I think is decent in Youssef Zalal. And it gives Youssef Zalal a chance, if he wins, to enter himself in a title picture. Again, fun fight. But let's move on to the loser of that. Josh Emmett. I'm going to have number 8 Josh Emmett take on number 11, the Unk fight, Patricio fucking Pitbull, mate. Listen, this might not be the most exciting fight on paper. 8 versus 11. Josh Emmett's coming off that really ugly armbar submission against Youssef Zalal, that loss. He's coming off this beautiful training camp with DJ Dillashaw where he thought he was all in the edits. You're like, oh, maybe Josh Emmett's turning a corner. And if he beats Zalal, sky's the limit for 50-year-old Josh Emmett. Loses to him, embarrassing, but took no damage. So he should be able to fight soon. And Patricio Pitbull, he's expressed interest in wanting to fight soon. Obviously, that Lucine Keita fight got canceled at UFC Paris. So this guy's trying to fight. Loser becomes the ultimate gatekeeper. And yeah, the loser becomes the ultimate gatekeeper. That's the stakes for this fight. And, it should be interesting because Patricio Pitbull, he's fairly boring. He really throws nothing. He has a cooldown on every single punch that he throws. And Josh Emmett's just going to spam overhands and hooks. So it would be an interesting fight. And I like Josh Emmett. I kind of hope he knocks out Patricio Pitbull. But moving down the card, we go to, what is it, the opener on that card? Joey, turn the fucking body cam off, Pyfer, versus Roman Dolidze / Marvin Vettori. I gave two options here because I think both these guys kind of fit into that similar, back of the middleweight rankings. Roman Dolidze sucks. He got his manhood taken away by Fluffy in the last fight on that fight night in the Apex. Pyfer, again, he's coming off a nice win over Abus Magomedov. Kyle Baio couldn't even finish fucking Abus Magomedov. And I think this would be a nice win for Joe Pyfer to beat, what is Dolidze, the 12th ranked middleweight, who I think sucks anyway, but at least it's another name for Joe Pyfer. And then in terms of Marvin Vettori, if Pyfer finishes Vettori, that'd be insanely impressive because this guy's got one of the best chins ever, and would be another nice win on the resume for Joe Pyfer to add. And you can hate on Joe Pyfer all you want. This guy does have some fucking skills. I know he's easy to make fun of the body cam, He looks like a cop that would, brutally abuse you and assault you. But that's besides the point. He can fight. And I will say, if he beats Roman Dolidze, I would just cut Roman Dolidze in the middle of the octagon because he's absolutely terrible. I'd rather him fight Dolidze because I kind of like Vettori at least a little bit. Moving on to loser. Actually, we're not going to do Abus Magomedov. Fuck Abus Magomedov. We're going to do, I think, Ateba Gautier. Ateba Gautier. Brutal knockout over Tristan Vines, who just one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. Tristan Vines running around in a circle around the octagon, shoots the takedown from 8 feet away, and then gets kneed in the face, then gets up against the cage, gets thrown off, elbows, punch in the face. It's over for him. I'm gonna have Ateba Gautier taking on one of two guys: Edmund Shabazzian, who just fought on this card, or Kelvin, the fucking fat Mexican Gastelum. I actually would be interesting in the Gautier versus Kelvin fight, because Kelvin will fight anybody. He's really fat. He doesn't really get finished, and he still is decent. I mean, he looked, I thought, solid on the feet against Dustin Stoltzfus in his last fight. And if worse comes to worse, he can just take you down, and then he could just sit on you because he's fat, because he eats so many tacos and fucking burritos. And Shabazzian's a heavy hitter. He's only 27. They mention it. He really is not that old. Gautier is, 23, 24? So this would be kind of a nice fight. Shabazzian, imagine he won this. That would be big. He also could just get brutally knocked down the first round. This is a real step up in competition for Gautier, because these guys aren't cans. They're like legit names who have UFC wins to their career and are names that people know. So I would like this. And listen, if he beats Kelvin Gastelum, they can just cut him. If Ateba Gautier knocks out Kelvin Gastelum, they can just give that a reason to cut him. The guy never makes weight. He gets taxed on every single purse that he brings in because he's fat. Again, Ateba Gautier leaning towards Kelvin Gastelum. Shabazzian he's the backup option when Kelvin Gastelum doesn't make weight. And we're gonna move on to, in my opinion, the best match a man could ever make. This is my Mona Lisa of matchmaking right here, my magnum opus of matchmaking. And you might be saying, Kieran, what could you possibly be doing right here with Patchy Mix, a guy who I made a lot of the viewers lost money because I told them to take Patchy Mix by submission. And don't just pin that on me, because plenty of people were saying take Patchy Mix by submission. Patchy Mix is going to win. Patchy Mix Masterclass. I wasn't the only person on YouTube and social media saying that, so don't come after me with that shit. Anyway, I'm going to match him up with Kai Hasekura. I saw Big Time MMA say they should do Patchy Mix versus Said Nurmagomedov. And I was like, psh, boo. Like, those are names. Like, Patchy Mix deserves a name, you know what I mean? So Said Nurmagomedov, he's a name. I think Said would fucking beat him because Patchy Mix is awful. And Said, at least he's a name. People know him. He had a nice little fight with Bryce Mitchell. He lost, but fucking whatever. You could throw down a prelims Abu Dhabi card. I'm not talking about that one because that's not my prediction. Kai Hasekura, 0-2 in the UFC, embarrassed by Pantoja, and then embarrassed again by fucking old-ass Tim Elliott. And in terms of Patchy Mix, embarrassed by Mario Batista, and then really didn't lose, but he lost to fucking KSW Jakob Witch Class. However you say that guy's fucking name. I still haven't said it right. Both dudes 0-2 in the UFC. Both came in with massive hype in terms of Patchy Mix, Bellator champ, 20-1 before coming to the UFC. You know, Kyle Sakura, Ryzen champ. This guy was a massive name out of Japan. And both need a win. And Kai Asakura is a striker. And Patchy Mix is kind of a grappler. And it would be interesting to see Kai Asakura try and finish Patchy Mix. Because give it. You want to say one thing about Patchy Mix? This guy does have a fucking chin. That's the only positive thing I could say about Patchy Mix. He doesn't move his head off the center line. He just keeps his head straight. I don't think he's fucking ducked or rolled with punches or really done anything technical on the feet whatsoever, except throw nice inside low kicks and calf kicks. That's about it. That's all he's really going to do on the feet. He can be decent in his jiu-jitsu on the ground, but that got outbeasted by a Polish YouTuber in his last fight. And loser of this fight gets cut. Vince McMahon, WWE style. It has to happen. Vince McMahon would be all over this idea. Loser gets fired. Loser gets fired. This is a banger matchup. Because we could finally get rid of Patchy Mix. Because, let's face it, Kazakura, he has MMA skills. Patchy Mix, the only two things I could say about him are he has a good chin and he has good jiu-jitsu. And it would be fun to watch Kazakura beat this dude's head in. Probably not finish him. Probably win a decision. But you never know. What if Patchy Mix just fluked a submission by taking down Kazakura, who has shit grappling? Like, that's what I like about this fight. They both have such glaring holes in their game that like somebody's just gonna lose and you're just gonna laugh, and they should be cut because whatever way they lose shows that it's not UFC caliber. They're not UFC caliber, and I'm a Kyle Sakura guy. I love this dude, but if he loses a fucking Patchy Mix, he should be cut on the spot. Anyway, that's kind of the video. I don't really have any other predictions planned. I was gonna do one for maybe Daniel Santos, but I wanted to end it off with fucking Patchy Mix versus Kyle Sakura. I think this is going to be a banger fight. I think this was a good video. I like the matchmaking. I thought it was solid. And in all, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Keep showing love on the TikTok. We're posting on Instagram Reels now. We're going to come out with the UFC Rio card breakdown and predictions maybe tomorrow or like Wednesday morning, because I'm flying back to New York, so I want to get that video out. But this video is a banger. Thanks for all the support you guys have shown me. We're gonna keep coming hard. We're gonna keep coming for that ass. Thank you guys again. Like, comment, subscribe. See ya, boys, later. Doc is signing out.